I was sitting at a formal dinner table in Seattle, Washington, on a Saturday evening in November 2024, surrounded by my husband's entire family. My mother-in-law, Margaret Thorne, sat across from me. Perfectly styled silver hair, designer dress, diamond earrings that cost more than my car, and a smile I'd learned to fear. "Before we eat," Margaret announced, tapping her wine glass with a fork, "I have something everyone needs to hear." My stomach dropped. Nothing good ever started with those words from Margaret. My husband Ethan sat next to me, his father Robert at the head of the table, Ethan's younger sister Caroline and her husband David, all of them looking at Margaret expectantly. Margaret pulled out her phone, connected it to a Bluetooth speaker on the sideboard. "I've been concerned about Amy for some time," Margaret said, looking directly at me. "About her intentions, about whether she truly loves my son. So I did what any protective mother would do. I gathered evidence." "Mom, what are you talking about?" Ethan asked. "You'll understand in a moment, sweetheart." Margaret pressed play. My voice filled the room, crystal clear. A conversation I'd had 2 weeks ago. "I don't know how much longer I can do this. Living in his world, pretending to be someone I'm not. Sometimes I wonder if marrying him was a mistake." My blood went cold. That was me, my actual words, but completely out of context. The recording continued. "His mother hates me. She's made my life hell since day one, and Ethan just lets it happen. He never stands up for me. Never chooses me over her." Margaret paused the recording, looked at Ethan with fake sympathy. "I'm so sorry you had to hear this, darling, but you deserve to know who you married. Amy has been planning to leave you. She's been using you for your money, your status, everything you could provide, but she never loved you." Ethan's face was unreadable. He looked at me. "Amy?" "Ethan, that's not—" "Let her play the rest," Margaret interrupted. "You need to hear all of it." She pressed play again. "I should have listened to everyone who warned me, but I was stupid. I thought love would be enough. It's not." The recording ended. The room was silent, everyone staring at me. Margaret smiled, victorious. "Now you know the truth, Ethan. Your wife doesn't love you. She never did. I have more recordings if you need further proof." I opened my mouth to defend myself, to explain, to tell them what she'd cut out of that conversation. But before I could speak, Ethan stood up. He looked at his mother, his face calm, controlled, but I could see the rage simmering underneath. "You're absolutely right, Mom. I needed to hear the truth, but not about Amy. About you." Margaret's smile faltered. "What?" "Before I tell you what Ethan said next, what his mother had been hiding for 35 years, and how one recording destroyed her perfect family image forever, please like this video and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. My name is Amy Rose Parker. Well, it was Parker. It's been Amy Parker Thorne since I married Ethan Thorne 3 years ago in 2021. I'm 30 years old, and I need to tell you about my mother-in-law from hell. I met Ethan in 2018. I was 24, working as a pharmaceutical sales rep in Seattle. He was 28, a corporate lawyer at his father's firm. We met at a medical conference. I was representing my company. He was there for legal compliance training. We got coffee, talked for hours, exchanged numbers. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant in Capitol Hill. We talked about everything: books, travel, life goals. It was easy, natural. Perfect. Ethan was kind, intelligent, funny, successful, but not arrogant about it. He came from money, old Seattle money. His father Robert owned a prestigious law firm, Thorne and Associates, 100-year legacy, multi-million-dollar operation, but Ethan wasn't pretentious. He drove a normal car. Lived in a nice but not ostentatious apartment, worked hard, earned his position. I came from a completely different world, middle-class family in Spokane. My dad was a high school teacher. My mom was a nurse. We were comfortable but not wealthy. I worked my way through college, graduated with student loans. Built my career from entry-level positions. Everything I had, I'd earned. Ethan and I dated for 2 years before he proposed. We were happy, deeply in love, building a life together. Then I met Margaret. Ethan had talked about his mother, described her as particular and traditional. Red flags I should have noticed. Our first meeting was at the Thorne family estate. A massive house in the Laurelhurst neighborhood. Old money, old furniture, old attitudes. Margaret greeted me at the door, looked me up and down like I was livestock at auction. "So you're Amy. Ethan's told me about you." The way she said it, cold, dismissive, already judgmental, dinner was painful. Margaret asked invasive questions. Where did your family make their money? We didn't. My parents are a teacher and a nurse. I see, and where did you go to college? Washington State University. Oh, not Ivy League then. No, ma'am. What do your parents think about you dating someone from Ethan's background? They're happy I found someone I love. Margaret smiled. Not warmly. How convenient. After dinner, I overheard her talking to Robert in the study. She's completely wrong for him, different class, different values. She's clearly after his money. Margaret, she seems like a nice girl. Nice girls from her background don't date men like Ethan unless they want something. I've seen this before, gold diggers, social climbers. She'll trap him with a pregnancy and take half his assets in the divorce. I was devastated. Ethan found me crying in the bathroom. What's wrong? Your mother hates me. She doesn't hate you, she's just protective. She called me a gold digger. She didn't mean it like that. Mom is old-fashioned. She needs time to warm up to people. But Margaret never warmed up. She got worse. Over the next 2 years, she tried everything to break us up. She introduced Ethan to suitable women at family events. Daughters of business partners, women from wealthy families, women with the right pedigree. She made comments about my job. Sales is so common, not really a career for someone in our family. She criticized my appearance. Dear, that dress is lovely for a different occasion. This is the Thorne annual gala. We dress with more sophistication. She questioned my intentions constantly. Ethan, are you sure Amy isn't pressuring you? Young women can be very manipulative when they see an opportunity. But Ethan loved me, defended me, proposed in December 2020 despite his mother's objections. Margaret tried to take over our wedding planning. Insisted on a huge formal affair, 500 guests, society wedding. I wanted something smaller, more intimate, our friends and close family. Absolutely not, Margaret said. The Thorne family has a reputation to uphold. Your wedding will be appropriate for Ethan's station. We compromised. Medium-sized wedding, 200 guests, half Ethan's family and social circle, half mine. Margaret hated every minute, made her disapproval clear. At the reception, she gave a speech. Welcome to the family, Amy. I hope you'll learn to appreciate the responsibilities and expectations that come with the Thorne name. Translation, you don't belong here, try not to embarrass us. After the wedding, things got worse. Margaret expected me to quit my job. Thorne wives don't work, it's beneath the family image. I like my job, I've worked hard to build my career. Your career is being Ethan's wife. Supporting his career, raising his children, that's your role now. It's 2021, Margaret, women can have careers and families. Not in this family. Ethan supported my decision to keep working, but Margaret never forgave me. She criticized everything, my cooking, my housekeeping, my fashion choices, my friends. Those people aren't appropriate company for a Thorne. They're my college friends. Exactly, college friends from a state school. You need to cultivate relationships with people who can benefit Ethan's career. I tried to be patient, to please her, to prove I was good enough for her son, but nothing worked. Margaret was determined to hate me. By 2024, 3 years into our marriage, I was exhausted, drained from constantly defending myself, constantly failing to meet Margaret's impossible standards. In October 2024, I had lunch with my best friend Jessica. We'd been friends since college. She knew everything about my struggles with Margaret. I don't know how much longer I can do this, I told her over salads at a cafe in downtown Seattle. Living in his world, pretending to be someone I'm not. Sometimes I wonder if marrying him was a mistake. You don't mean that, don't I? His mother hates me, she's made my life hell since day one, and Ethan just lets it happen. He never stands up for me, never chooses me over her. He loves you, Amy. I know he does. But love isn't enough when you're constantly being attacked by your husband's family. I should have listened to everyone who warned me about marrying into money, but I was stupid. I thought love would be enough. It's not. Jessica reached across the table, squeezed my hand. You're venting, you're frustrated, but you don't really want to leave Ethan. I don't know what I want anymore, I'm just so tired. We talked for 2 hours, I vented. Cried, processed my feelings. By the end of lunch, I felt better, clearer. I loved Ethan. Our marriage was worth fighting for. I just needed to find a way to deal with Margaret. What I didn't know was that Margaret was at the same cafe. 2 tables behind us, recording our entire conversation on her phone. 2 weeks later, November 9, 2024, was Robert's 65th birthday. Margaret insisted on a formal family dinner at their estate. Ethan and I arrived at 6 p.m., his parents, his sister Caroline and her husband David. Margaret was in rare form, extra polite, extra sweet, extra fake. Amy, darling, so lovely to see you, that dress is interesting. Translation, you look cheap. Dinner started normally, small talk, business discussion. Robert talking about retirement plans, then Margaret tapped her wine glass. Before we eat, I have something everyone needs to hear. And she played the recording, my voice, out of context. Damning, when it ended, everyone stared at me. Margaret looked triumphant. Now you know the truth, Ethan. Your wife doesn't love you, she never did. My heart was pounding. This was it. The moment Margaret had been engineering for 3 years, the final proof that I wasn't good enough. That I'd married Ethan for the wrong reasons. Ethan, please let me explain, but Ethan stood up, looked at his mother. You're absolutely right, Mom, I needed to hear the truth, but not about Amy, about you. Margaret's face changed, confusion replacing victory. What are you talking about? Ethan pulled out his own phone, connected it to the speaker. 2 months ago, Amy came to me, told me you'd been treating her terribly, making her life miserable. I wanted to believe you were just being protective, old-fashioned, but she was so hurt, so I decided to find out the truth. He pressed play. Margaret's voice filled the room, a phone conversation. Recent. Margaret. Robert, we need to do something about Amy, she's completely wrong for Ethan. Robert, Margaret, they've been married 3 years, let it go. Margaret, I can't let it go, she's ruining everything, she's not one of us. She comes from nothing, I will not have my son tied to some middle-class nobody for the rest of his life. Robert, you're being ridiculous. Margaret, I'm being protective, I'm trying to save our son from the biggest mistake of his life. That woman is using him. The recording continued, Margaret's voice getting more vicious, more desperate. I've been documenting everything, every mistake she makes, every inappropriate thing she says. I'm building a case. When I have enough evidence, I'll convince Ethan to divorce her, and I'll make sure she gets nothing in the settlement. Ethan paused the recording, looked at his mother. You've been sabotaging my marriage, deliberately, for 3 years. Margaret's face was pale. Ethan, I was just... You recorded my wife without her knowledge, edited her words to make her look bad, planned to use it to destroy our marriage. I was protecting you? No, you were controlling me. Like you've controlled everything my entire life. Robert stood up. Margaret, what the hell have you done? I was trying to help. Help, you recorded a private conversation and manipulated it. That's not help, that's sabotage. Caroline, Ethan's sister, spoke up quietly. Mom, this is insane, even for you. Margaret looked around the table, everyone staring at her with shock and disgust. You don't understand, Amy isn't good enough for this family, Ethan cut her off. Amy is my wife, the woman I love, the woman I chose, and you've spent 3 years trying to destroy that. Why? Because you deserve better. Better than someone who loves me, better than someone who makes me happy, better than what, Mom? Margaret's composure cracked. Better than someone who doesn't come from our world, who doesn't understand our family. Who doesn't what? Have money, have the right last name? What is it, Mom? What's really going on here? And that's when Margaret said something that changed everything. Because I won't let you make the same mistake I did. The room went silent. Robert's face went white. Margaret, don't. What mistake? Ethan asked. Margaret's eyes filled with tears, real tears. For the first time in 3 years, I saw actual emotion on her face. I married your father for love, and I've regretted it every day for 35 years. Robert sat down heavily. Margaret, stop. But Margaret couldn't stop. Decades of buried truth was pouring out. You think this family was always wealthy? You think I was born into this life? I wasn't. I came from exactly where Amy came from, middle-class, working parents. Nothing special? Ethan and Caroline looked shocked. I'd always assumed Margaret came from old money. Your father was different back then. Robert was a struggling lawyer, barely making ends meet, but he was charming, ambitious. And I loved him. She looked at Robert, a lifetime of resentment in her eyes. We got married when I was 23, lived in a tiny apartment. I worked as a secretary to help pay bills. We were happy, or I thought we were. Mom, what does this have to do with? Everything. It has everything to do with this. Because I gave up my dreams for your father. I gave up college, career, everything, to support him while he built his practice. And when he finally made it, when Thorne and Associates became successful, I thought we'd made it together." Robert's voice was quiet. "Margaret, please don't do this." "Why not? They should know the truth. They should know what happens when you marry someone because you love them instead of for the right reasons." Margaret turned to Ethan. "When your father became successful, I didn't fit anymore. I was the secretary wife. The working class girl who didn't know which fork to use. His business partners' wives were educated, sophisticated, from good families. I was an embarrassment." "That's not true," Robert said. "I never said that. You didn't have to. I saw it in their eyes. I heard their whispers. Robert married beneath him. She doesn't belong in our circle." I spent years reinventing myself, learning to talk like them, dress like them, act like them, erasing who I was to become who they expected me to be. Tears were streaming down her face. 35 years of pain. "I don't want that for you, Ethan. I don't want you to wake up in 20 years and realize your wife doesn't fit into the life you've built, that she holds you back, that you resent her for not being what you need. Amy doesn't hold me back, she will. She comes from the same world I did. She'll always be the outsider, the wife who doesn't quite fit. And eventually you'll see it too." Ethan's voice was steel. "The only person who doesn't fit is you, Mom. You've spent decades hating yourself, hating where you came from, and you've projected all of that onto Amy. I'm trying to protect you from my mistakes. Your mistake wasn't marrying for love. Your mistake was being ashamed of who you were, of changing yourself to please people who didn't matter. Amy hasn't done that. She stayed true to herself despite your constant attacks." Caroline spoke up. "Mom, I had no idea you felt this way about yourself, about where you came from. Because I buried it, I became someone else, someone worthy of this family." Robert stood, walked to Margaret. "You were always worthy. I never asked you to change. You did that on your own. Because I had to survive in your world. It's not my world, it's our world. We built it together." "No, you built it. I just learned to pretend I belonged." The truth hung in the air, raw, painful, decades of self-hatred exposed. Ethan looked at his mother, sadness replacing anger. "I'm sorry you felt that way, Mom. I'm sorry you've carried this for so long. But that doesn't give you the right to sabotage my marriage. Amy is nothing like you. She's confident, secure in who she is. She doesn't need to change to fit into my life. She already fits perfectly." He took my hand. "I love her exactly as she is, from exactly where she comes from, and I will not let your insecurities destroy what we have." Margaret looked at me, really looked at me. For the first time, I saw vulnerability instead of hatred. "I see myself in you," she whispered. "Every time I look at you, I see the girl I used to be before I changed, before I lost myself, and it terrifies me." "Why? Because you're everything I couldn't be. You're strong enough to stay yourself, to fight back against people like me, to refuse to change who you are. I never had that strength." Her voice broke. "I envy you. I always have. You have what I lost: authenticity, confidence. The courage to be yourself no matter what anyone thinks. I destroyed that in myself trying to fit in, and I tried to destroy it in you too." The dinner table was silent, Margaret's confession hanging over us like a cloud. Ethan's grip on my hand tightened. "What happens now?" Robert looked at Margaret. "That's up to your mother." Everyone looked at Margaret, waiting. She wiped her tears, took a shaky breath. "I owe you an apology, Amy, a real one. What I've done to you over the past 3 years is inexcusable. I've been cruel, manipulative. I've tried to destroy your marriage to my son because I couldn't face my own failures." "Mom," Caroline started. "No, let me finish. I need to say this." Margaret looked directly at me. "You came into this family with nothing but love for my son, and I punished you for it, because you reminded me of everything I'd given up, everything I'd lost trying to be someone I thought I needed to be." Her voice was raw with emotion. "I'm sorry, I'm so deeply sorry. You didn't deserve any of it." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to stay angry. She'd made my life hell for 3 years. But seeing her like this, broken, vulnerable, honest, I felt something unexpected. Pity. "Why didn't you just talk to me?" I asked quietly. "Why all the attacks, the sabotage?" "Because talking would have meant admitting the truth, to you. To myself. I've spent 35 years building a perfect image. The perfect Thorne wife. Sophisticated, refined, from the right background. Admitting I came from the same place you did would have shattered that image. but the image was a lie. Yes, and I've been living that lie for so long I forgot who I really was. Robert reached for Margaret's hand. She pulled away. You don't get to comfort me. Not after I've destroyed everything. You haven't destroyed everything, haven't I? Our son is looking at me with disgust. Our daughter is shocked. My daughter-in-law, who I've tormented for years, now knows my deepest shame. I've destroyed our family dinner, our relationships, everything. Ethan's voice was measured. You haven't destroyed our relationship, Mom, but you've damaged it, badly, and rebuilding that trust is going to take time. I know. I need you to understand something. Amy is my wife, my partner, my choice, and that's not going to change. If you can't accept her, can't respect her, then you're choosing not to be part of my life. Margaret flinched. Ethan, please. I mean it. No more sabotage, no more manipulations, no more recordings, no more criticism. You treat Amy with the respect she deserves or you don't see us. That's an ultimatum. Yes. It is. Margaret looked at me. Do you want me out of your life? Everyone looked at me, waiting for my answer. I could say yes. I'd earned that right. 3 years of abuse. 3 years of attacks. 3 years of being made to feel less than. But looking at Margaret now, broken, ashamed, vulnerable, I didn't see the enemy anymore. I saw a woman who'd spent her entire adult life trying to be someone she wasn't. Who'd buried her true self so deep she'd forgotten it existed. Who'd attacked me because I represented everything she'd lost. I don't want you out of our lives, I said quietly, but I need things to change, really change. No more comments about my background, my job, my friends, no more comparisons to suitable women, no more treating me like I'm not good enough. I can do that, and I need you to go to therapy. To deal with whatever self-hatred has been driving this. Because I can forgive you, Margaret, but I won't be your punching bag while you work through your issues. Margaret nodded, fresh tears. That's fair, more than fair. And one more thing. That recording you made, I want all copies deleted. Everyone, and I want your word you'll never do anything like that again. You have it, I'll delete everything right now. Margaret pulled out her phone. Showed me as she deleted the recording from her phone, her cloud storage everywhere. Robert spoke up. I'll make sure there are no other copies. I'll go through our home computers, everything. Thank you. Ethan looked at his father. Dad, did you know about Mom's background? Of course I knew. I knew exactly who she was when I married her, and I loved her for it. Then why did you let her change? Robert's face showed regret. I didn't realize how much she was changing, how much she was burying who she was. By the time I noticed, she'd already become someone else. I tried to talk to her about it over the years, but she insisted she was happy. I should have pushed harder. Margaret shook her head. You couldn't have stopped me. I was determined to fit in, to belong, to erase my past. But you belonged from the beginning, you always did. I didn't feel like I did. Caroline, who'd been quiet through most of this, finally spoke. Mom, I'm still processing all of this. I had no idea you felt this way, about yourself, about where you came from. You never talked about your family, your childhood. I just assumed you'd always been this. I wanted you to think that. I wanted you to believe you came from 2 successful families, not one successful and one struggling. But that's part of who we are, who I am. You robbed us of that. I know, and I'm sorry. The birthday dinner resumed, awkwardly, everyone processing what had just happened. Margaret was quieter than I'd ever seen her, withdrawn, lost in thought. Robert tried to lighten the mood. Failed. The tension was too thick. After dinner, Ethan and I said our goodbyes. In the car, neither of us spoke for the first few minutes. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. I'm so sorry for everything, for not seeing what she was doing. For not protecting you better. You didn't know the extent of it. I should have stood up to her more, set stronger boundaries. I let her treat you terribly because I kept thinking she'd eventually accept you. She was never going to accept me as long as she hated herself. How did you know to ask her to go to therapy? Because that's what she needs. She spent 35 years running from who she really is. That kind of self-hatred doesn't just disappear because she got caught. She needs professional help to unpack all of that. Ethan reached for my hand. You're amazing, you know that. After everything she put you through, you still showed her compassion. I'm not doing it for her, I'm doing it for us, for our future. If we're going to have any kind of relationship with your family, she needs to heal. Do you think she will actually change? I don't know, but I think tonight was a turning point. She can't go back to pretending anymore. The truth is out. We drove in comfortable silence for a while. Thank you, Ethan said quietly. For what? For staying, for fighting for our marriage, for not giving up on my family despite having every reason to. I love you. That's not going to change just because your mother has issues. I love you too, more than I can say. Over the next few weeks, things shifted. Slowly, Margaret started therapy twice a week. Individual sessions focused on identity, shame, and self-acceptance. She also started couples therapy with Robert, working through decades of unspoken resentment and miscommunication. And surprisingly, she reached out to me. Would you have coffee with me? I'd like to talk, no recordings, no agenda, just talk. I agreed, cautiously. We met at a small cafe. Margaret looked different, less polished, more real. Thank you for meeting me, she said. Of course, I've been doing a lot of work in therapy, unpacking things I buried for decades, and I wanted to tell you something. Okay? You were right about everything. I was punishing you for reminding me of who I used to be. Every time I looked at you, I saw the girl I'd erased, and it made me angry, not at you, at myself. I appreciate you saying that. I also wanted to ask you about your family, your parents. I'd like to meet them, really meet them. Not as the judgmental mother-in-law, as someone who actually wants to know them. I was surprised. Really? Yes, I need to reconnect with where I came from, who I was, and meeting your parents might help me remember that my background wasn't something to be ashamed of. I think they'd like that. We arranged a dinner. My parents drove down from Spokane, met Margaret and Robert at a casual restaurant. It was awkward at first. My dad, a high school teacher, my mom, a nurse, meeting the wealthy in-laws who'd looked down on them. But Margaret surprised everyone. She was warm, genuine, asked about their lives, their work, their experiences. I was a secretary before I married Robert, Margaret told my mom. My father was a factory worker, my mother cleaned houses. I understand where Amy comes from because I came from the same place. My mom was shocked. Ethan told us his family was old money. They let him believe that, I let everyone believe that, but it was a lie. One I'm trying to stop living. By the end of dinner, my parents and Margaret were laughing together, sharing stories, connecting over their similar backgrounds. Your mother-in-law is different than I expected, my dad told me later. She's changed, or rather, she's becoming who she really is. Good, because the woman Ethan described before, the cold, judgmental one, I was ready to dislike her. But this woman, she's genuine. I like her. Margaret's transformation wasn't overnight. There were setbacks. Moments when old patterns emerged, but she caught herself, apologized, worked through it in therapy. By Christmas 2024, our family dinners were different. More relaxed, more honest, less performative. Margaret started talking about her childhood, her parents, her struggles. My father worked at Boeing, she told us one evening. Assembly line, he was so proud when I married Robert. Thought I'd made it? If only he'd known how much I'd have to erase myself to fit in. He wouldn't have wanted that for you, I said gently. No, he wouldn't have. He loved me exactly as I was. I wish I'd remembered that. Caroline started asking questions about Margaret's family, their history. Do we have cousins, aunts and uncles, people you cut off when you reinvented yourself? Yes, my brother, your Uncle James. I haven't spoken to him in 30 years. Why not? Because he reminded me of where I came from and I was ashamed. Can we meet him? Margaret looked uncertain. I don't know if he'd want to see me after all this time. Only one way to find out. Margaret reached out to her brother James in January 2025, tentatively, fearfully. They met for coffee. The first time they'd seen each other in 3 decades. James was 57, Margaret was 63, both had gray hair, both looked nervous. I'm sorry, Margaret said immediately, for cutting you out of my life. For pretending you didn't exist, for being ashamed of our family. James was quiet for a long moment. Why did you do it? Because I was trying to become someone else. Someone worthy of Robert's world, and that meant erasing my past. Erasing you? I'm your brother, I know, and I was wrong, so deeply wrong. They talked for 3 hours, Margaret cried. James cried, 30 years of pain and abandonment laid bare. By the end, James agreed to meet the family, to reconnect. I have kids, James told Margaret. Your nephews and niece, they've never met you, never knew you existed. I'd love to meet them. The reunion happened in February. James brought his family to Seattle. His children, 2 sons and a daughter, were in their 20s and 30s. Margaret's age when she'd cut James off. "You're our aunt?" James's daughter Emma asked. "Why have we never met you?" "Because I made terrible choices. I was ashamed of where I came from, and I punished your father for being part of that past." "That's messed up." "Yes, it is, and I'm trying to make amends." Over time, the families blended. James's kids and Margaret's kids became cousins. Connected by blood but strangers until now. Emma, James's daughter, became especially close to Caroline. Same age, similar interests. "It's weird that we grew up in the same city and never knew each other," Emma said. "My mom kept us separated, kept our families apart because she was ashamed." "Are you angry at her?" "I was, but now I just feel sad. She wasted so much time hating herself and we lost so much family because of it." Margaret's therapy continued. She was making progress, real progress. She started volunteering at a women's shelter, helping women from struggling backgrounds rebuild their lives. "I want to give back," she told me. "I want to use my resources to help women who are where I was. To show them they don't have to change who they are to succeed." By spring 2025, our family looked completely different. Dinners included James and his family, my parents, friends from various backgrounds. Margaret stopped caring about appearances, stopped worrying about what society expected. "I'm 63 years old," she said one evening. "I've spent 40 years pretending to be someone I'm not. I'm done. I'm going to be myself for whatever time I have left." Robert smiled. "I've been waiting 40 years to hear you say that." "You never said anything." "I tried, but you weren't ready to listen." "I'm listening now." Their marriage improved. Couples therapy helped. But more than that, Margaret dropping her facade allowed real intimacy. "I feel like I'm getting to know my wife for the first time," Robert told Ethan. "The real Margaret, not the image she created, and I love her even more." As for Ethan and me, we were stronger than ever. "I almost lost you," Ethan said one night. "Because I didn't see what my mother was doing. I'm never making that mistake again." "You didn't lose me, we fought through it. Because you're stronger than I gave you credit for. You stood up to my mother, you demanded respect, you didn't let her destroy us. I fought for us, for our marriage, because you're worth it. So are you, and I promise, Amy, I will always choose you, always put us first. No matter what." It's November 2025 now, 1 year since that terrible dinner. 1 year since Margaret played that recording. So much has changed. Margaret is unrecognizable from the woman she was. She's softer, kinder, more genuine. She's built relationships with people from all backgrounds, stopped caring about pedigree and status. She even went back to school, started taking literature classes at the local community college. "I always wanted to finish my degree," she told me. "I dropped out when I married Robert, thought I didn't need education. But I do need it for me." Caroline asked her why community college instead of a university. "Because this is where I belong, with regular people, working adults going back to school, people from all walks of life. This is my world. And I'm not ashamed of it anymore." Margaret also reconnected with old friends from before she married Robert, women she'd dropped when they didn't fit her new image. "I have so much to apologize for," she said. "So many bridges to rebuild." Some people forgave her, some didn't. She accepted both. "I can't change the past. I can only move forward, be better, be real." Her relationship with me transformed completely. We're not best friends, but we're friendly, respectful. Sometimes we even grab coffee and talk. "Thank you," Margaret said during one of our coffee dates, "for giving me a second chance. You didn't have to." Everyone deserves a chance to change. Not everyone takes it. "I'm trying to. I can see that. Do you forgive me, really forgive me, for the 3 years of hell I put you through?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "Yes, I forgive you, not because you've earned it, but because holding on to anger would only hurt me. You're doing the work, you're changing, that's what matters." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." Last month, Margaret hosted a dinner, but this time it was different. She invited everyone. My parents, James and his family, Ethan's colleagues from his firm, my friends from college, a mix of people from all backgrounds. All economic levels, all walks of life. "This is my real family," Margaret announced. "Not just blood relatives, but the people who have shown me what really matters. Love, acceptance, authenticity." She looked at me. "Especially Amy, who taught me that being yourself is more valuable than fitting in, that love is more important than status, That family isn't about appearances, it's about connection. After dinner, Robert pulled me aside. Thank you for not giving up on her, on us. You could have walked away from this family, no one would have blamed you. I didn't stay for the family, I stayed for Ethan. But you gave Margaret a chance to change, that was a gift. One she didn't deserve but desperately needed. She's doing the work, that's what matters. She is, and it's because you showed her it was possible to be yourself and still be loved. She'd forgotten that was possible. As for Ethan and me, we're planning our future, talking about kids, about building a life that honors both our backgrounds. I want our children to know both sides, Ethan said, the middle-class roots. The working parents, the value of earning what you have, not just the privilege and wealth. Your mom would love that. She would, the new version of her anyway, the real version of her. Yes, the real Margaret, I'm still getting to know her. But I like her so much better than the image she created. Looking back on that terrible November dinner, I realize it was the best thing that could have happened to our family, not because I enjoyed being humiliated, or because Margaret's cruelty was justified, but because the truth finally came out. Margaret's recording of me forced Ethan to reveal his recording of her, which forced Margaret to confront the shame she'd buried for decades. And that confrontation, painful, raw, honest, started a healing process. Margaret isn't perfect now. She still has moments of insecurity, times when old patterns emerge. But she catches herself, apologizes, works through it. She's in therapy indefinitely. I have 40 years of damage to undo. That doesn't happen overnight. She's rebuilding relationships with her brother, her extended family, her old friends. She's mentoring young women from struggling backgrounds, showing them they don't have to change who they are to succeed. Be yourself, she tells them. The right people will love you for it, the wrong people don't matter. Advice she wishes someone had given her 40 years ago. As for me, I've learned valuable lessons too. I learned that hurt people hurt people. Margaret attacked me because she was in pain, because she hated herself, not because I actually did anything wrong. I learned that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not the other person. I learned that family is complicated, messy, imperfect, but worth fighting for. And I learned that the truth really does set you free, even when it's painful, even when it destroys carefully constructed lies. Margaret's truth destroyed her perfect image, but it gave her something more valuable: authenticity, peace, freedom to be herself. I'm Amy Parker Thorne, I'm 31 years old, and I survived my mother-in-law from hell. But she's not that person anymore. She's working to become someone better, someone real, and I'm proud to call her family. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Share it with someone who's struggling with difficult family relationships. Someone who needs to know that people can change, that healing is possible. The truth hurts, but it also heals. Sometimes the hardest conversations lead to the deepest transformations. Be authentic, demand respect, and give people the chance to grow. Until next time.